Hi, I'm Lou, and today we're going to fix a Stihl MS170 chainsaw. The 170 and 180 are Stihl's most popular chainsaws because they're only $200. This is an entry-level homeowner saw that's considered disposable because it usually costs more than $200 to fix. But it doesn't have to be if you do the work yourself. No luck starting, so we'll take off the muffler and take a look at the piston. 5/16. So here's the exhaust port behind the muffler, and you're looking at the piston right there, and this thing is completely trashed. A piston should look like that, but when it overheats, it starts to melt like that, and it eventually ends up like this. The bad news is that a piston that bad means the whole engine is messed up. The good news is that you can get a new one for 40 bucks. Link in the video description. So right now you might be thinking, great, let's throw in the new engine and go. I actually did that on a saw, and I blew the next engine in 10 minutes. You need to figure out exactly what killed your old engine before you throw a new one in. These die when the motor overheats and melts the piston, and there are 4 things that can cause that. First is using the wrong fuel mix, and this is my dad's saw, and I know he didn't do that. Next is forcing it to cut with a super dull chain, and this is quite sharp. So if it's not the first 2 issues, either this saw has a bad carburetor or a leaky engine right around here. On a 4-stroke engine, a leaky crankcase is not too much of a problem, but on a 2-stroke, the piston goes down and forces gas and oil up here. If there's a leak down here, the gas, and more importantly, oil, doesn't get up here, and this thing overheats and melts down. We'll use this $40 leak tester, and I've got a link in the description below. Unlock the cover, pull that off. Filter 5/16 nut there and there. Push the choke all the way shut and pop out this linkage. Next, use a screwdriver to pop off this fuel line. Press all the way down on the throttle valve and push this link sideways. Pop this wire out and slide it out that way. Put a screwdriver under here and pry straight up. Then it just pulls out like that. Off comes the carburetor. And we'll pull out this shield and clean up a little bit. We're going to leak test our motor by blowing in the spark plug hole, but first we need to seal the intake and exhaust ports. So I cut this blocker out of gasket material, and it goes right in like that. Carb in behind it and bolt it down. Here on the exhaust side, we're doing the same thing, and I already cut this for another chainsaw. Muffler back on. Took off the spark plug wire. We'll get rid of this plastic plate and unscrew the plug. I made this adapter out of an old spark plug. I removed all the porcelain, cut off the ground, and JB welded in this barbed hose fitting. I removed this metal washer and replaced it with a rubber seal made out of this gasket material. You can also buy these with the link in the video description. Screw that in and tighten it down. Put on our leak tester hose. We should be able to pump this up to about 7 pounds and it'll hold. And it does. Just to be sure, switch over to vacuum mode. Doing fine there too, so our engine actually doesn't have a leak. Because this didn't leak, we know we have a bad carburetor, and if we try to use it, we'd kill the new motor instantly. You'd be tempted to take this apart and clean it, but you can't get too far without an ultrasonic cleaner, and sometimes that doesn't even work. Good news is a new one is only 16 bucks, and it comes with this extra stuff. Link in the video description. But let's take apart the old one just for fun. That screen can get clogged, but it's easy to blow out. So that diaphragm presses on that lever, which lets the needle valve control gas flow. The real problem is that these carbs get clogged under these glued-in metal plates and can't be fixed. Now we'll start fixing by taking the old motor out. Dump out your fuel, bolts, cover, bar and chain, clip, washer, clutch bell, bearing. Jam some rope in the spark plug hole so the piston can't turn. A better option on these smaller saws is a piston stop. It takes a ton of force to loosen the clutch, and it's threaded on backwards. Plate and oiler. Exhaust back off. These are Torx T27 screws. Gas cap off. Oil cap off. And the side cover. Coil. Flywheel nut. These flywheels are stuck on tight. Gently tap a screwdriver right in there, and then tap on the center here with a punch. And off it comes. To get to all the motor mounts, we'll have to take the handle off. Plastic plugs. To remove these rubber mounts, jam a screwdriver in under here and twist like that, and put another screwdriver in here and pry it loose. And the saw comes right out of the handle. It's easier to work if you just get the electrical out of the way. T27s. Very gently fold this intake boot inward. Push forward to pull it through and lift your engine out. We'll take the intake boot off the old motor to use on the new one, and you start by pulling off this ring and then pop it off. We're replacing the old motor because of the scored piston, but let's take it apart and see just how bad it is. Oh yeah, this is in terrible shape, especially on the exhaust side. And if you look down in the cylinder, you can see the walls are scored badly too. I'd love to throw this new motor in the chainsaw, but these factory seals are notoriously bad, so we're going to replace them with MotoSeal. Look at that shiny new piston. This factory seal definitely would have leaked, so we're going to scrape and replace. Dremel with a plastic cleaning brush. MotoSeal. Spread a thin layer in here where these red crank seals go. And I'll also do that on this side. Put the piston and crank back in. Put on the bottom. This needs 24 hours to cure, and heat helps a lot, so I put my piston at top dead center. And I've got it right in front of my hot air vent. It's best to use the original boot unless it's got cracks in it. Same goes for the fuel line. Fish the old filter out with hooked wire. Old, new, boot, ring, cave this in, motor, pop it back out, retaining ring, motor bolts. We need to make sure our engine is sealed by putting our blockers back in and doing a leak test. Pressure test, holding good at 7 psi. Vacuum, good there too. Flywheel, nut, business card to create a gap, plastic spacer, ground wire, spacer out, and make sure it spins freely. Wires and spring, oiler, plate, clutch, bearing, bell, washer, clip. Blocker out and muffler back on. 2 plastic pieces and the carb, gas line, wire and lever, handle. You just have to brute force these rubber mounts back in. Plastic caps, starter, plug, choke linkage, throttle linkage, filter, cover, bar and chain, cover. If you need more help, there's a lot of great people in the Chainsaw Repair group on Facebook. Thanks for watching! Out of force and it's on backwards. If you don't want to use ropes, there are piston stops for your specific model saw.